Good afternoon and welcome to Our World, Our Power. Another Saturday show with Lady Pauline and our honorable guest and co-host, my wonderful co-host, Mr. Glenn Greenwich, the Honorable Mayor of Southern Boulevard. I have to always introduce you like that, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Today, we have who we have on today, Glenn?
We have Mr. Cedric Drew from the YMCA, and we're going to find out about all the programs that they have and find out about all the wonderful things that they're doing for us in the community.
Welcome,
So,
Cedric. The last time I saw you, we were at the radio station, is exactly a year ago.
Wow, has it been that long?
Yeah, it has been that long.
Wow.
A lot of stuff has happened.
It truly has.
Yeah. So how have you been doing, and what are some of the new programs that you have implemented?
Well, I'll say that, COVID has been its own adventure, obviously, for all the nonprofits throughout the city. We've been making the best of, a very challenging situation. For a while, we were basically just transitional housing, and now we're starting to look at some programs that we want to start implementing. We want to start reacclimating folks back to the community because basically once the governor shut down all the gyms, we were closed, and now we're trying to evaluate what we do in this climate.
Okay.
Cedric, one of the things I actually let's act like it's not COVID because I don't think that people really understand the degree to the services that you were providing. And obviously in COVID, some of that's been reduced. But let's talk a little bit about all of the breadth of programs that the Y has been offering the community for so long.
Yeah, I mean, Glenn, it's been a labor of love over the last 20 plus years for me. We have 5 after school programs in schools in the community, PS 40, 48, IS 59. We have a Beacon program. We're PS 26 in Fresh Meadows. We're all over the place, and we have an after school program at the branch. So every day we were servicing during the school year 800 young people that had someplace safe to go and a safe haven for after school programming. With that,
How many you said?
we
800.
800, yes, 800.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so when COVID hit, most of those programs had to go to a virtual format, which has been, more challenging for our families because, obviously technology is a big part of what our families need in order to catch up on. And so all of a sudden we found ourselves trying to, navigate parents through Wi-Fi and all those kinds of things to help them get their children, acclimated to after-school programs that we were doing virtually. So that was really, really a challenge.
Now, Cedric, how has the community been dealing with the fact of we've been doing everything computerized? Are the community have the resources?
Well, I can say that, Department of Education and other institutions have stepped up to provide iPads, to provide, other guidance, to be supportive. We set up what's called the Learning Lab at our facilities so that young people could come to our building. We were earmarked for 120 youngsters to come to our building every day. So if they weren't in school and the parents needed some place for them to go while, during this COVID, they could come to our Learning Lab and be able to do their schoolwork there on our computers. And we set up computer stations throughout our gymnasium, throughout our Mills gym, and throughout our youth and family room. So we were averaging probably about 25 young people a day coming in and doing, their academics that way. Our commitment is to continue to try to provide as much of those types of services to families as possible, as well as to keep pushing the envelope and encourage parents to go on the system and register, because they can go on and register through the Department of Education, and then their children can be registered as part of the virtual programs that the Y offers, and we assist their children also with the day-to-day after during the day school. So if parents don't understand how to register their kids for virtual learning when they're not in school, they can contact us and we can help them through that process.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's terrific because I know a lot of people need help, including myself.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, no, no, we're there to assist in that effort. We want to, we absolutely understand that being relevant in the era of COVID means being, a technological support. It means being emotional support. It means, beginning to, as we slowly, reopen. And I want to go back to Glenn's question because I think it's really important that, we were doing, programs from 6 a.m. in the morning until, 9:30 at night every day, Monday through Fridays, and 8 to 8 on Saturdays and Sundays. And so, many of those programs, which were our swim classes, which basically, there's still no swimming right now. I mean, there's minimal swimming, there's lap swimming, and some other types of swimming going on at 10 of our YMCAs. So right now, if you were a member of the Jamaica Y, you could actually keep your membership and go to one of the 10 YMCAs throughout the city and participate in programs. I can tell you that we're working on trying to establish some current programs at the Jamaica Y as well. So there are some active Ys, but we still have not activated fully because we're still in a state of sort of uncertainty.
Okay.
I think the biggest thing to know about what has happened to the YMCA of Greater New York as an organization, we lost $100 million because once you close down our membership citywide, that just decimated us financially. But we're a resilient organization. We've been around for over 150 years, and we're adjusting. We're adjusting to the new the new era of post COVID that we're going through now.
I I um I understand the financial situation. How has the city and the state helped you, or have they?
Well, I tell you, the saving grace has been, as you know, and we talked about this last time I was on your show. Transitional housing was always a big part of what we did, and so one of the things I'm very proud of is that just as the COVID epidemic pandemic was taking fold, I was starting to have conversations with New York City Health and Hospitals, and so they came in and they basically purchased a bunch of beds from us so that we could help the hospital system free up beds for those who are most in need that had COVID. And so we took many of the clients that they have that were homeless but weren't necessarily as sick. People don't know the hospital system actually has to house people who come in that are sick, and then if they have no place to go, they become really the responsibility of New York City Health and Hospitals. And so we were able to give many of those people a place to stay while we created beds and opportunities for those who actually were suffering and fighting the COVID virus. And, so we were able to do that for about 135 beds. We since have expanded our relationships in other branches like the Vanderbilt YMCA. Jamaica is fully occupied right now with transitional housing clients. And so our effort to be a part of the solution really came to fruition, with that relationship. So when we looked around, we had increased our portfolio to about 1,000 beds from probably just about 750. So now we have about 1,000 beds throughout the city where we're housing people that have gone through either homelessness or chronic homelessness, sleeping on the subway, all kinds of clients that we're servicing right now, and that's really been important work for us because not only is it redirecting our focus for right now and allowing us to remain relevant in this very difficult time, but it's also giving us much needed revenue to help our organization stay afloat.
Okay, and also, how is the mental status with the clients and as well as the community, because I know for myself right now I'm very depressed, and I know a lot of people feel that way, with everything that's
Mhm.
going on in the world. Um, and if you are homeless and all these things, add up to a
Mhm.
disastrous situation. How have you all been dealing with the mental health situation over there?
The first thing we did, and I think this is something a lot of businesses learned, is that when you can go virtual, you can at least keep people connected to some degree. And so we had a lot of our classes go virtual, and that those virtual fitness classes allowed many of our members to stay connected in that way. I will tell you, the Jamaica YMCA probably lost about 7 or 8 members to the COVID virus that I know of directly, and that really was a toll on both the staff as well as the community at large, because I'm in a series of chain text message groups, and when you get notification that someone who you saw every day is no longer here because this pandemic took them, it's very draining on everybody, including the staff. So that's the first thing we do. The second part of it is that transitional housing is an interesting population of folks. Oftentimes the signs don't exhibit themselves like right away, because people in trauma oftentimes take time to exhibit the symptoms that go along with being depressed. And so what we try to do is create an environment that make people comfortable. One of the things that I've been working on with one of my sponsors, Blue Cross Blue Shield, is the Dignity Initiative. And so what we did was we created, health and wellness packages. So when a person comes through the door, we were giving them the toiletries, the toothpaste, the soap, the toothbrush, the deodorant, all of things that most of us take for granted. Our client base oftentimes don't have those when they walk through the door. So we
That's
were
true.
giving folks those kinds of items to say, hey, you know what? You're here. We know this is going to be a journey to return and transition back, but we want to be there to support you. Right. And then halfway through their stay, one of the things we do is we create what we call a comfort package, where we make sure and we double check. Do you have nice, comfortable, clean socks? Do you have a warm blanket in your room? Do you have a nice hat in this cold weather? Are you comfortable? And creating that type of environment. And then the goal in the end is to create what I call, which is the final touch of it all, which is the exit package, which instead of them walking in with their stuff, many of them come in with their stuff in hefty bags. I mean, picture if your version of a suitcase was a hefty bag. And so my goal is to make sure that every resident that walks around our building walks out with their primary property at least in some kind of a carry bag. And so Blue Cross Blue Shield gave us, I think it was 100 carry bags, so that every time a resident leaves, they get to walk out with a bag that they can put their property in and feel good about. So the Dignity Initiative is something that I've realized it needs to expand, it needs to grow, because I think that when you help people restore their dignity, they do the rest, right? And I always make sure that I also reiterate this, that the secret sauce in it all is good quality customer service. Because remember, they're walking into to administrations and being treated like second class citizens. Well, where's your ID? Why don't you have your ID? Well, you don't know what this person's been through. You
True.
don't know whether they've been through a fire, a flood, been living on a subway for the last year. You don't know. So to condemn someone for not having the appropriate documents is something that really, really decimates a person's character. And so when they come in our doors, one of the things we do is we start out with good quality customer service. We start out with a listening ear. We have security, but even our security is trained to listen, to hear what people's needs are, and to try to be supportive of those needs, and to understand that these folks are going to have bad days, because trust me, if I put you in a situation where you're in an 8 by 8 room with very minimal utilities and things of that nature, it has a toll on you. And so being sensitive to that and understanding that we meet people where they are so that we can help them evolve to where they're trying to go is a big part of what we do in our work. So that's really what the Dignity Initiative is all about within the Y. And we've had some good success.
That's
You know,
wonderful.
Cedric, that's an area that is so needed. I'm surprised that more facilities aren't taking on that initiative, because I mean it's so important for people to feel loved, cared for, appreciated, and their dignity is one of the things that certainly is on the line when you don't have a home, and people are looking at you, kind of cross-eyed. Well, why don't you? Was it your fault? Well, and you don't know what it is, but people make assumptions when they see people who are suffering.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
and
very
that's
true.
yeah, and that's such a big part of it. What I've tried to do with this population that people refer to as homeless is to put a real label on who they are as people. They're veterans. They're women and men who fled, have fled violent situations. They're folks who have fought back from substance abuse, which was put in our communities, at a certain point, and folks are still recovering from that. They're folks that have gone through HIV and AIDS and other, debilitating diseases. They're young people who aged out of the foster care system and know nothing but homelessness because they were only living in a transient life throughout their childhood. They're folks who migrated here with a promise for a better life. And so when you put a name to these individuals, it becomes a different conversation. And every day I work to sort of just be the voice for this voiceless population and provide a home for what is perceived as a homeless population, and to create hope for what seems to be a hopeless population. And so by going in and committing our staff to that every day, I think we've been able to do some really dynamic work. And I'm really proud of the team that I work with that supports the effort.
Well, I love the work that you do, Cedric. I mean, it's awesome. It's necessary. Glenn, I think it's about time to pay those bills, though.
Time to pay the bills. Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
go ahead.
We have Black Spectrum Theater has a season pass. We've got what's left of the month of February. We've got the 19th of February. We have the St. Albans Jazz Festival, and February 26th we have the famous and funny Paul Mooney. Well, how do you find out about it? Well, let's go to www.blackspectrum.net, select Season Pass 2020-2021, and select a payment method. Or, if you don't like that approach, call up Monday through Friday from 10 to 6 p.m., 718 723 1800, and ask for a season pass. You definitely don't want to miss it out. Black Spectrum Theater. Back to you, Lady Pauline.
All right, that's wonderful. At least we have some entertainment to look forward to in the community to brighten our spirits. Let's continue this wonderful conversation with Cedric. Cedric, I wanted to ask you something. A few months ago, I was over by um, Jamaica, Jamaica Avenue, and something that struck me. I saw a lot of homeless people sleeping in the park, and it just like it really took me back. And do you do outreach as well in the community? Like you go to, the people that's in the park and ask if they need help or so forth and so forth. Is that part of what you do?
No, we're purely a service provider. We partner with the agencies. We partner with Samaritan Village, who has a number of beds in our facilities. ACQC, the AIDS Center for Queens County. We partner with BRC, the Bowery Community Development Committee. We partner with these organizations, and they're the experts in going out into the community and helping folks that might be battling the various issues that are currently homeless. So what I always say, if you see someone who's homeless and they really want help, and because oftentimes people will say, I want help, and all they have to do is dial 311 from where they are, and 311 refers them to an agency, and then the agency takes them into the shelter system, and then from the shelter system they can be placed depending on the assessment that's done on that individual. All right, so if the individual has substance abuse, they can go into a program associated with Samaritan Village or other agencies. If they're associated with HIV and AIDS or some other, the HRA has various nonprofits that work with them, and then those nonprofits have placement locations, and individuals can then be placed into those various facilities. So the key is and there are a lot of people who have gone to the streets who find that as their safest sanctuary. That's where they're most comfortable at, and it's a challenge sometimes to get people to say, "No, I want help." And so, if someone exhibits, desire to have help and wants to be off the streets, there's some place for them, but they have to, that call has to be made. Because what happens is we can't take them in because we have not done the assessment. We're not the experts on it. We provide a variety of services. And so we say, stay in your lane because you'll do what you do best.
I agree with you 100%.
You
Glenn?
know, Cedric, I want to acknowledge you and thank you for the work that you're doing with the displaced population, because I hear stories about some of the shelter experiences, and to be honest with you, I don't know that I would put anybody that I love inside of that environment. Clearly, you're providing a safe, comfortable, peaceful place for people to lay their head down, and
Mm-hmm.
that is such. We were talking about mental health earlier, and I know I can't imagine for myself not having that kind of space and comfort, and clearly you're providing it in an environment that a lot of the people that are in that situation don't have that. So I just want
Right.
to acknowledge you and thank you for the care and the courtesy and the love that you provide the people that stay with you as a resident. So it, it it to me it really is consistent when especially who your Y has been, the Jamaica Y has been in
Mm-hmm.
terms of interacting with the community. You've been doing so much for the young people. Young people have grown up in that Y and then come back to support the Y and do great things in the community. So I really want to acknowledge the work that you're doing now, the work that you've done in the past to get to this point, and I know that the work that you're looking to do going forward. So it's really, thank you.
Thank you
I
too,
really
Cedric.
appreciate that.
Without
Thank
you
you
in the
both.
community, we would have less. So I really appreciate all the services that you have provided, as well as your agencies. I want to ask you something. Where do you see yourself now for the new year, being that we are in the new year, and where do you think we're going from here on?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we're going through that right now with our board of managers. We're looking at how you pivot because there are so many issues that have to be addressed. Like I think that the first thing we're going to go through, and this is just my own personal opinion, I think the first thing we're going to go through is a reacclimation, back into society from a social standpoint. That as this vaccine rolls out and people start to feel more comfortable, the question is what's that going to look like? What's it going to look like in our playgrounds? What's it going to look like in our recreation and community centers? What's it going to look like socially? With 8,000 kids coming down Parsons Boulevard again. I think that there's going to be a lot of bottled up energy. I think that we're going to have to really evaluate how we bring uh, this whole community back together. Because as you talked about, Lady Pauline, you're talking about depression from your perspective. Well,
Yes.
multiply that by hundreds of thousands of people who haven't even identified that as something in their systems. And so now that has a way of sort of manifesting itself in behavior. And so our conversation has been predominantly about transitional housing clients, but you know when you talk about our membership has been gravely affected by this, because
Yes.
they come to the Y for a connection to other people, and they haven't not had that for a year, right?
It is
And
a year. It is, as I
it's
said
been
to
a
you.
year,
Yes, it's been a
and and
year.
and it may be longer, because the one thing I committed myself to not doing was, um, as much as I want to open our doors to our community, I don't want to put our people at risk. Many of our YMCA members are seniors, people that have pre-existing conditions, and those pre-existing conditions make them more vulnerable. So I open my doors up with good intentions, and all of a sudden people come in and start getting sick from COVID. That's not the way to operate. So we have been cautiously, keeping our doors closed, doing transitional housing, creating our own protocols. We have new protocols that will go into place. The YMCA's that are open, I've done those walkthroughs. We've spent hours going through every scenario, what it means to work out. We've had to take out equipment, so that no two treadmills are within 6 feet of each other, or a piece of equipment is within 6 feet of each other. We've had to minimize the number of lanes people swim in. We've had to make sure that if we had a gym, you measure the square footage of a gymnasium to determine how each person gets 6 feet of space in order to have instructional. You can't even have like recreational activities. It's all got to be instructional, because everything has to be very formalized. Um,
Well,
you know,
that's what I mean, Cedric. It's so rigid until it becomes very depressing. You know,
hmm hmm
you want to go out in the street. Now they're talking about putting on two masks. You know,
yes,
so I could hardly breathe with the one. Now I have
now
to
they want
put
you to
on
wear two.
two. Yeah.
Right.
So these things affects a person's mental state. You know, I love Jamaica Avenue, and I can't tell you the last time that I've actually been to Jamaica Avenue in the
hmm
last few weeks, because I haven't been well, and you start to become like a homebody, and everything is inside, and that means that brings on depression to people you know
Right. Yeah.
because as you said, Cedric, the part of going to the white is the fact that you are able to socialize, you are able to exercise, so you're
hmm
exercising the body as well as the mind,
Right.
and we haven't been able to do that.
Right. And that's really been the biggest. I think the missing piece of our community is folks not being able to do that, and then hearing about those who've passed as a result of during this time. I mean, when I heard that first member, I was like, wow. And then the second one and the third one, and I just kept hearing about people who were active and healthy that were coming to the Y, and now they're no longer here because of this terrible pandemic. So I do believe that there are a lot of opportunities that are going to come about as a result of it. I do believe that now we're offering a very small menu of, like, sip and paint for a limited number of families. We're offering computer classes. We're offering instructional basketball. So right now is a good time for those who might want to register. They can call the Jamaica YMCA and learn about some of the programs that we're offering. We just got clearance for karate through the governor's office, which is great. So we'll be doing more, instructional karate, but nothing combative, but just in terms of learning katas and keeping, socially distant and responsible activities that will allow people to begin to get active again while at the same time staying safe. And I can't emphasize staying safe enough. And so,
That's
we're
Uh,
that's
excited. We
interesting.
want to see people in our buildings.
Cedric, so these programs are being offered instructionally, but are they also being offered virtually at the same time, so that you can have some people indoors, and then you can actually have people in their home?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't figured out the logistics of how to, those programs that we have that are virtual, and we do still have virtual programs. Like we have virtual fitness classes in the morning that people can tap into and register for. These are the classes that will be in person, and so because again, we have to get back to some level of in person. So the last year we've done a lot of virtual classes, but we need to start doing some classes in person, and this will be a great opportunity for us to really test pilot some activities and see how it kind of goes. I'm excited to see how it works. I'm also going to be doing a series of focus groups with many of my families and parents. I have three of them coming up, and I'm doing them in groups of 10, so I can really get a sense of what the community's apprehension is. What's the community's this, what again, COVID has affected everything from the economics through the activities. So I've got to find out what the tolerant price point is, because when you reduce your numbers, obviously there's a price point affected with that, and so trying to provide programs is even harder because now can people afford them? So we're working on trying to find that balance between the price point, the programs, and the capacity to meet the needs of the community. And so it's been a daunting task, but I believe we're up for it.
Okay. Now you mentioned the focus groups. When
Yes.
are they going to start? So you can let us
I,
know, so we can talk about it on our show.
yeah, I think I'm scheduled probably to do the first one sometime next week, and I'll probably be doing one each week for the next three weeks, or however my administrative person sets it up. But I'm doing that because I want to hear from the community directly. It's one thing to think, it's another thing to hear from families and to hear from folks who will tell you what their fears are, who will tell you what financially they can do, who will tell you what activities can really be the sort of the jump start activities that we can begin to think about. Again, knowing what I know through the why and what we're doing, but also hearing from the community and saying these are the things we might be able to do safely, and allow folks to get there to maintain some health.
Okay. Another thing is that we have the food supply. You talked about financially, but I've gone through a lot this past year watching a lot of stuff unfold out here in Jamaica, Queens,
Mhm.
that I never saw happen in my whole entire life. Boxes of food being distributed to the community, and that is an awesome, awesome, task to do, and it's wonderful, and it's so necessary.
Mhm.
Um, I'm just wondering, where people will be at for the future financially, as far as getting back into, different activities, because activities actually cost money. Majority, no matter how small, if you have nothing, nothing from nothing actually leaves nothing. You know, so
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but
you
I
know.
tell you, COVID. But here's the thing that I think we need to consider. We need to consider that COVID has not just changed us temporarily, but it has changed us permanently. Um, Today, more and more people are going to be working from home. A lot of companies realized that the cost of setting up offices was only designed more from an aesthetic standpoint, that today's technology allows people to work more so from home than ever before. I've experienced that, and I'm sure many other companies have experienced that. That's going to change the whole landscape of what businesses are in our community, but it's also going to change how we provide fitness to the community, because if more people are home during the day, we may be having more programs and activities during the day, so people can kind of take a break, come over to the Y, work out, then go back home and work. Right?
Mhm.
Remember, our community is changing. 6,000, according to Greater Jamaica Development Corporation, 6,000 new residents will be moving into downtown Jamaica within the next year. Right? That's just a reality. And so thinking about that, we have to think about, historically we sort of had a lunch workout. Maybe we need to have 2 or 3 classes during the hours of 11 to 2 o'clock now, in order for people to be able to come in and work out. The traffic is going to look different. That's the first thing. The second thing, and going to what you're talking about in terms of, the food lines have never been longer. I've not seen. I mean, I see South Road. When you see over by South Jamaica projects, you see the lines of people out there, trying to get food. We did a partnership with Jamaica Hospital and gave out 300 meals in one day within a 3-hour time period. That's how big the demand was. So you're absolutely right. The Y is looking at all of those things. We're looking at where we can be relevant to the cause. Now, we serve 3 meals a day to the 269 residents that we currently have in our facilities, but looking at opportunities to do more for community, whether it's vaccine distribution, whether it was tracing and COVID tracing and tracking, whether it's partnerships and working more with groups and saying, okay, well, you have a group of seniors, maybe they can come over to the Y as a group because you've already tested them, and now we can do an activity just with that group. So if they come together and they leave together, then if there was somewhat of an outbreak, at least tracking it is easier because you didn't intermingle with 10 other groups of people that, now we got to try to track the whole community to figure out where this virus took place at. So,
That's very true.
looking at how we go about our business in a different way is going to create a model for us that's going to not just affect today and tomorrow, but our future. The other thing that we learned was that online classes are going to probably be a mainstay. People are going to need that. People are going to need that for a while because I may feel safe to walk out my door, but there are a lot of folks who don't feel safe. And do we want to leave them isolated in their apartments and their homes and not provide them with anything? So we're going to be committed to looking at all the options. And that's where the board of managers and myself, we actually have a meeting on Tuesday. And that's one of the things we're looking at in our strategy is what things will be the most important things to help our community heal from this pandemic.
Okay.
Now, Cedric, before the pandemic, you were looking to have a youth program that was interacting with the not-for-profits locally to get them experience and to give them those kind of experience that they could write in the resume. Um,
Mhm.
what's the status of the program given COVID?
Yeah, it was definitely stalled as a result of COVID, and we've had to sort of reorganize our approach. I can tell you that I'm starting a partnership with Eagle Academy to work with the young people over at that school. Principal Hall over there has been a real advocate of the Y and has agreed to join our board of managers, and so. We have that. We're also going to be looking at how we can virtually do some of that stuff because Glenn, you raised another great point, and that is, and a leader, my job is not to look at right now, but to look ahead. So I'm already thinking, how do we give young people summer jobs? Maybe we can give them virtual summer jobs because if they have a project that they can work on wherever they are in their space, then at least they can still have some gainful employment, get some work experience, and also to be engaged in something productive and positive. So we're looking at that now to see what can be done. We're looking for partners. We're going to be talking to DYCD, the Department for Division for Youth and Community Development, to see what their plan is, so that we can be a partner with their plan to give opportunities to our young people, so that they're not just sitting at home all summer with nothing to do, because that's what COVID did last year. And that each year that happens, that's another year our young people don't have work experience. That's another year that their academics fall behind because work experience is directly in correlation with academics. When I understand why I'm doing what I'm doing academically, because I've had some work-based experience, I'm a more engaged student. And so our commitment is to create as many opportunities like that, as well as beginning to think about what we have to do for the new Americans in downtown Jamaica, because we have a lot of immigrants. The Latino X community is growing in downtown Jamaica. And so we have to be partners with them as well, opening our doors, creating, access to technology, thinking about other partners that specialize in things like immigration and the other areas that they need services in, and really, really trying to expand out to see where we can be the most relevant in this community.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Got a question for you.
Mhm.
What's happening with the rest of the Ys in, I guess, the greater New York area? And then the next conversation is, as a national organization, what are your, where are you looking to go given COVID and such?
Yeah, I'll start with New York City because I can sort of speak to that more thoroughly. I can tell you, New York City is committed to reopening, our membership doors. We have opened 10 YMCA's in Queens. The Cross Island Y is open, the Long Island City Y is open, and the Far Rockaway Y is actually open and accepting members now. If you were a member of the Jamaica YMCA and you wanted to go and have a full-fledged membership experience, you can go to one of those three Ys at this point and register just like you would if you were at Jamaica and be able to go. There's certain guidelines and things like that to, getting swim laps and stuff of that nature, but they're encouraging people to register and go and get active again. The Jamaica Y, again, we will have a smaller portfolio of programs for right now, but we are looking to expand those programs. And each quarter of the year, whether it be coming up to to July 1st, we're going to have summer camp for kids. We already know that much. We're going to have some other activities. Like I said, we're going to continue the learning labs. We're going to continue to provide transitional housing. So the Y of Greater New York is mobilized towards I don't like to use the term restart because we never really shut down. We were always operating, but more of a taking off, I'd say, getting back to where we once were in terms of our membership and getting back to where we were programmatically. We are committed to that, and we're working diligently to do that. On a national level, I can tell you there's so many objectives and so many things that the national is looking at. And one of the things that I think I'm most proud of, because as we talked about this pandemic, one of the things we have to talk about is social activism and social justice. And our organization has become very committed to social justice on a national level. And so many of our branches, I mean, this will be the first year that the YMCA of Greater New York will recognize Juneteenth as a employee holiday. So that's exciting, and that's hats off to a national movement that has said that Black Lives Matter. And if you go by my building, there's a banner on my building that says Black Lives Matter because we're part of that movement. We're part of equality for not just all, but particularly people of color who've been disenfranchised in our society. And so I'm excited to be a part of that. And, I'm part of the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee for the YMCA of Greater New York. And we're moving several things. We have actually a panel discussions that we'll be doing down the road. We have a host of other activities that are going to be part of our ongoing sort of initiative towards social justice. So that's the real big picture. On the membership side, again, it's about reopening our doors and giving people a safe place to come. But to me, the social justice piece is probably paramount as I see it.
Okay. I know in the community, Glenn, Friday you went somewhere. Where did you go Friday, Glenn?
Um, I went to Jamaica Avenue, had a couple of businesses that opened up. Jamaica Center Bid. Um, uh, there were four restaurants that actually
Mm-hmm.
opened up since the pandemic, since last year's pandemic, and so
Mm-hmm.
this was the first opportunity that we had to actually go, and so we did four ribbon cuttings
Nice.
that were organized by the Jamaica Center Bid. The borough president, Donovan Richards, was there. The deputy borough president, Rhonda Binder, who was used to be the executive director for Jamaica Center Bid. Of course,
Mm.
Jennifer from the Jamaica Center Bid and all their staff were there. Adrian Adams was there, and Councilman Miller was there as well. Um, and quite a few people from the borough president's office, Sharon Anderson, um, and quite a few people. So it was and lots of people from Community Board 12, the new board chair, um, Reverend Thorpes, and of course Mrs. Reddick, the district manager for Community Board 12, was
Always
there
good
as well.
people.
Yes, yeah.
You
So
can't
it was
leave
a
her
good
out.
turnout. It was a cold day, but it was a good turnout.
That's wonderful, Glenn. Um, I want to ask both of you some questions because the question's been coming to me. Um, Testing sites, okay? A lot of people still do not know where to go for testing sites, and they still do not know where to go to get vaccinated. And being that you two gentlemen deal with the community on a daily basis, what is it that you're hearing? Because I'm hearing sometimes nothing. In the sense of I have to ask people, well, where do I have to go? Where do I have to go get tested? Where is these places available? Do they, go up by appointments and stuff like that? So I know the community wants to be able to be free to find out this information because it's necessary for our health.
Yeah. So what I can tell you is that obviously there's priority groups, and the priority groups are based upon age and other variables. You need to know first and foremost, are you in the priority group? Seniors are definitely in the priority group. Um, what I found out was congregate workers. So all of my staff, because we do congregate care with the homeless, are eligible. So many of them have been making appointments and been going and getting their shots. I can tell you that from what I've heard, in the press, that Jamaica High School, Hillcrest High School, and Queens Hospital are locations for vaccinations. Now, obviously, there has been a shortage of vaccinations throughout the country, and that's really been the sort of the stumbling block on this whole thing. I also just heard that City Field will be a major hub for vaccinations. So there are going to be enough places to get the vaccination. The challenge is going to be as the companies, the Modernas and the Pfizer's rev up the production of those vaccines, and now the vaccines are actually readily available. I think that's going to be really when people are going to really see the opportunity to get vaccinated almost seamlessly. I'm also excited about the fact that they just recently established a contract with the Dwayne Reeds, the Walgreens, and other local pharmacies, so that people will be able to walk into their local pharmacies and get those vaccines. So I think there are going to be a lot of opportunities for vaccines. I think our new administration in Washington has done so far a yeoman job of trying to clear up the bottleneck process that has taken place. But I would tell people, don't give up. Go on the site, continue to register, get appointments. There are even waiting list appointments that you can be on in case someone doesn't show up for the vaccine, and they'll call you within a moment's notice. I know Queens Hospital was doing that. So there are opportunities to be vaccinated. The other challenge is that there's vaccination one and vaccination two. You're getting two shots. So once you get your first shot, don't think that you're in any way
Claire.
immunized. You have to get that second shot. So I tell people to, if you're going to start this process, really, really, commit yourself to it.
Okay, that sounds
I
wonderful.
let me add that you can get vaccines from Joseph P. Adabo Family Health Center. There's one on Sutphin, right off of Linden, and there's another one on Guy Brewer off of Foch. You've got City MD for testing sites, and they do get some vaccines from time to time, but
Mm-hmm.
their supply comes in, I think, every 2 weeks or so. So they've got a supply. Jamaica Urgent Care on Sutphin Boulevard is doing testing and will occasionally get vaccines. And I saw something in the Eagle that York College will be opening up as a site at some point in time. I'm not sure exactly when. So the
Mhm.
sites, you know, Cedric mentioned it, and I think the key is getting more vaccines. Once we can get more vaccines, I think we've got the sites and the locations that we
Mhm.
can distribute it. The key is going to be getting the vaccines into the city.
Okay.
And I'll also let you know that there is also a lot of conversation and talks around pop-up sites. And so there are going to be a
Yes,
lot of pop-up locations in the community. They're gonna pop up. It's going to be there for 2, maybe 3 days, and they're going to be gone. So look
Okay.
out for those as well. I mean, and because
That's
they've even had
interesting.
conversation with various nonprofits about that kind of stuff, to have pop up locations where we come in, we do a community, and then we're out. The other thing too is I know that starting next week, they're going to be popping. They're going to be immunizing the entire shelter system. So those folks that are in shelter systems are going to be getting the vaccine. It's going to be available to that community because, again, they're very vulnerable. They live close together. They share bathrooms, congregate housing, and it's, it's just wise that they be put in a priority group. So they're in priority group A, 1B. So that's where they're starting to move to. They're finishing up 1A, and then they move to 1B, which is those folks in congregate housing, substance abuse, things of that nature.
Oh, this is wonderful information for the community. That's why I love doing this show. Also, I like to take a break to talk about paying our bills again. Unfortunately, we do have to do that. So,
absolutely. Yes, yes,
Fortunately.
yes, yes, we do.
uh,
And so one of our sponsors is Black Spectrum Theater, and of course, inside of this pandemic, they're offering a season pass, and they've got events happening on Fridays. So the Fridays are left. We just missed yesterday the Shoes on the Other Foot and Samson's Way was the featured event. Next Friday, the 19th, is going to be St. Albans Jazz Festival. And if you are from Queens and haven't been to one of the St. Albans Jazz Festivals, you certainly don't want to miss out on this event. It's a stellar event that happens, and I think there are about fourth or fifth a year that they've done it. So you definitely want to check that out. And on February 26th, the funny man, Mr. Paul Mooney. If you haven't seen him or watched him or heard him, you're missing out. You don't want to miss him at all. Very, very funny guy. And so, how do you find out about it? Well, let's go to www.blackspectrum.net. That's the website, and you go to Season Pass 2020 2021, and then you look for your payment method. If you don't want to do it online, you can call up Monday through Friday, 10 to 6 p.m., 718-723-1800, and let them know what you like. And then we've got something for Stephen G. James.
Hi, this is attorney Stephen G. James. We've been practicing law at this law firm for over 30 years. I'm a former assistant prosecutor in Kings County and currently a defense attorney to serve you better. We work harder to serve you better. So just call us for the lawyers you can trust. 646 905 9000. 646 905 7001. We're located on Sutphin Boulevard, right near Hillside here in Jamaica, Queens, New York, for over 30 years serving the community. The law firm of Stephen G. James. Thank you.
Back to you,
right.
Lady P.
Okay. Well, you're listening to Our World, Our Power show. We're about to wind down. I would like to say thank you so much for being on our show, Cedric. The information that you have given out today to the community is awesome. The information you gave out, Glenn, is a wonderful thing. Let me know, Cedric, about the in focus groups that you were talking about, and
Mm-hmm.
also how can people reach you if they need to.
Well, sure. If you want to learn more about the YMCA, you can go to ymcanyc.org/Jamaica, and you'll learn all about our programs that we have there. If you wanted to call the office, the number is 212-912-2200. Our outstanding membership director, Sabrina Scott, is always there to take questions as well. You can also, too, just walk in our doors and ask questions. There's always someone there between the hours of 9 and 6 o'clock every day, Monday through Friday. So you can always go in and ask questions, and we're always there to serve the community.
And my partner in crime, Mr. Glenn Greenwich, how can people reach you?
They can reach me at Sutton Boulevard Business Improvement District, 718-291-2110. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. And remember, you can reach us, Our World Media. You can listen to us, I should say, on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and you can follow us on our Instagram, Our World Media. So there's many ways to reach me. And one thing
And
more.
Apple TV.
Oh yeah, Apple TV. Okay, you're right about that. You're absolutely right. And you can reach me also by reaching me at 646-340-7271. And this is Our World Media, where your news reflects you and your community. Thank you guys for a wonderful show. All
Thank
right,
you,
catch you
Cedric.
all next week.
Take care. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yes, most definitely.